And we are live. All right. Always like to see that immediately this time. Read. Sure. So share Twitter. Tweet. It's okay. Oh boy. Changed. Let's see. Oh, welcome. Gonna start in a few moments. Very soon. Start in a few moments. Episode 13. "30 seconds, and we'll begin." Got a bit of a longer script this week. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back for Benny in the Booth podcast, episode 13. This week, we've got a lot to talk about. We've got the college football playoff semifinal games and the New Year's 6 bowl games to preview. We've got NFL Week 16 to recap and Week 17 to preview. And odd thing I would never think I'd be ever talking about from NFL this week on this podcast, but it just I had to bring it up. All coming up. What's up, everybody? Welcome back for episode 13. This is crazy that we've already gotten that this is now 13 in. Obviously, if you are new here, subscribe to the channel, leave a notification bell on so you're notified when I go live or post an episode. I did say if we could get between 75 and 100 by New Year's, I do a Q&A. I also want to throw in an extra bonus to that. And I'm going to give a bit of context to this. Now, this is not going to be easy to try to figure out to set up, but I'd honestly be tempted. If we do also get in that range, I will also... let me give context first. I'm MLB The Show player. I've been playing the game consistently since MLB The Show 17, especially with online. And there most likely will be a game coming out for this year. We don't know when, probably because of the lockout. And I do online. I also pre-order the game, so I get a bunch of pre-order packs. And basically what I want to add on to the bonus is if we could get to the goal, I would try to figure out a way to do an opening night of MLB The Show live stream of how you start MLB The Show day one with packs, collections, and so much more. And I feel like maybe not everyone's interested in like video game, but I feel like it's an interesting bonus to add on. Now it's going to take a lot to try to figure out how to set up. That's going to be the fun part. But I'm willing to do if we could get to that goal. We have to get to that goal. That's what matters. So 75 to 100. And you get a Q&A at the beginning of 2022. And MLB The Show opening night for MLB The Show 22. Probably will be April if I had to guess, but no, we haven't heard anything about the next game, so that's all I can say really on the matter. Let's get into this. So, college football. So, this weekend is a big weekend for college football as we have the New Year's 6 bowl games and the college football playoff semifinal games. Finally, we can actually talk about this and preview these games. So let's get right into it. College football playoffs. As I said before, the Cotton Bowl, just to remember, the Cotton Bowl Classic, which is in Dallas at the Cowboy Stadium, will be between Alabama and Cincinnati. And the Orange Bowl, which is at Miami's Dolphin Stadium, is between number 2 Michigan and number 3 Georgia. So for the Bama-Cincinnati game, I'll admit I went back and forth on this game because Bama by far is looking like the better team. They're coming off the whooping they put on Georgia. But, part of me thinks maybe Cincinnati might be able to pull off this upset. But at the end of the day, I think Cincinnati will keep it close. Especially the fact that Bama struggled a lot this year with other opponents, besides for Georgia and a plethora of others. I do think Cincinnati keeps it close, but I do have Bama winning this game. But I do think Cincinnati will keep it close and make it a game. And I think especially if they do that, the committee will be more open to having a group of 5 teams in the future in the college football playoffs. And I think really this game will determine whether they're going to be willing to do it more often or not. The fact that Cincinnati's in, they'll be like the kind of test, I guess, in a way. To see if they'll allow it again in the future. So we'll see. And then the other game, Michigan, Georgia. I could be being Big Ten biased on this pick. Then again, maybe not. My concern is just the thing is like Georgia has a really top-notch defense in general. Offense is solid. The thing is, I just wonder if Bama exposed them too much in the SEC championship game. And I feel like of all teams, thank you for the reminder in chat. I will in a moment. Of all teams that could match up well to Georgia and maybe even beat Georgia, I feel like Michigan's up there because they've got a really good defense. I feel like their offense is going to challenge their defense. And for those reasons, I'm actually picking Michigan to beat Georgia. Now, it's not really an upset because it's 2-3, but I'm saying I do have Michigan winning this game over Georgia. And that's for the college football playoff semifinals. I'm not going to make a prediction for the championship until we actually get closer to the championship, which is not until next month. And we know who's going to be in the championship game, which we won't know till Motzei Shabbos Sunday. Well, on Shabbos, Motzei Shabbos. So I'm going to hold off on that prediction. So we'll see what happens. But that's for the college football playoff bowl games, and those are the biggest of matters of games. And by the way, I do want to mention there have been a bunch of college football playoff bowl games that have been we've been canceled. Teams have had to drop out because of COVID. None of the bigger bowl games have had any of that, but like some of the smaller ones. But hopefully everything will go fine, and we won't have any issues with college football, with the playoffs and the New Year's 6 bowl games. We'll see what happens. So for the New Year's 6 bowl games, first on the only one that's on before New Year's, on the 30th, we have the Peach Bowl, which is at the Falcon Stadium between Michigan State and Pitt. Pitt's a great story this year, but like I feel like this is going to be the right good. Like this could be. I just don't know if they're going to be good enough to beat Michigan State. So I do have Michigan State winning that game. Then on New Year's itself, we have the Fiesta Bowl, which is at the Cardinal Stadium between Notre Dame and Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State just looked rough in that conference championship game, and that's what discourages me from picking them. I think also most people are predicting Notre Dame. But either way, at the end of the day, I do have Notre Dame winning this game. That game, then we have the Rose Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. Ohio State, hosting versus Utah at the Rose Bowl Stadium itself. This is going to be an interesting game. And I wanted to go up to date with the percentage numbers, and this is still crazy to me. 82% of people are picking Ohio State, and this is for ESPN's predictor thing. 82 Ohio State, 18 Utah. And this just like puzzles me because Utah's the one that's a conference champion, and Ohio State's the one that's not. Then again, if Ohio State was a conference champion, they'd probably be in the college football playoffs. But at the end of the day, it just shocks me. Now, my pick is Ohio State no matter what because I'm a Buckeyes fan and I do think they will win. But the percentages is just what like caught me off guard. I'm like, really? But either way, I do have Ohio State. And then the last New Year's 6 bowl game is the Sugar Bowl, which is at the Saints Stadium between Baylor and Ole Miss. Baylor being a conference champion, Ole Miss not. I don't have much of an explanation for this pick, but I have Ole Miss with this, with that prediction. And that's my predictions for the college football playoff semifinals and the New Year's 6 bowls. Obviously, I'll be covering what happens in all 8 of the bowl games. Obviously, with college football playoff semifinals, more priority, but I will be covering next week all of them, what happens. So now let's get into NFL Week 16. And before I do that, happy birthday to my grandfather and my dad's side, Poppy. Quick shout out. Anyways, Week 16. What a week this was. And just a warning, the Browns game's not first, but this is going to be hard to fathom through and try to do this on the podcast. So just giving a heads up warning before. Anyways, let's get into it. So Thursday night, you had the Titans and the Niners. The Niners jumped out 10-0, and it looked like this was going to be a good start and a win. All of a sudden, the Titans put up 17 unanswered points. The Niners ended up tying the game, but the Titans ended up winning it on a game-winning field goal. I think it was just about as the time expired, if not maybe a few seconds before. But either way, the Titans got a win 20-17. Man, oh man, how am I going to be able to do? Let's just, whatever. Next up, Packers-Browns on Saturday. The Browns jumped out 6-0 on a Nick Chubb touchdown on their opening drive. But the kicker missed the extra point. Not the only missed extra point they had in that game, but the second one was on missed 2-point conversion. But it kind of came back to bite them. Kind of not. We'll get into that. Packers didn't do much. But here's the problem. Baker threw pick. Then they got a touchdown to Lazard, which ended up being the record breaker for Aaron Rodgers. And the Packers were steamrolling relatively. Baker threw 3 picks in the first half, which is just ouch. And that's not even the part that I'm most upset about. And don't get me wrong, I'm upset that he threw 4 picks. That's not excusable. Browns eventually got to within 24-22 and they had the ball looking to drive to try to win the game. And then Baker throws his 4th pick, which was just a stinger. But the problem is it literally was one of the most blatantly, obviously missed PI calls or even defensive holding I have ever seen. The guy was literally grabbing the wide receiver as clear as daylight, and no ref picked up on it. And that's what led the Packers to a 24-22 victory. That's just what makes me mad the most about this game. The fact that it's so clear and obvious it's PI, and they didn't call it. So yeah, Browns lost this game 24-22. Though their playoff hopes are still alive. We'll get into that later, but I don't know anymore. It just really upsets me that they missed that. It's just so blatantly obvious. I haven't found anyone that hasn't said that so blatantly obvious. Like, that's how much obvious it is that it was a PI. Anyways, before I get too much upset and maybe even triggered, Colts at the Cardinals. This was all Indy. Jonathan Taylor and the Colts were all running over the Cardinals. Score was close, but the Cardinals were missing kicks. Their offense wasn't doing much, and the Colts ended up winning 22-16. Next up, Giants and Eagles. This was all Philly from beginning to end. Fromm sucked for the Giants in his debut. It was all Philly, 34-10. Next up, Rams at Vikings. This was a bit back and forth. Rams had a lead a good amount, though, and the funniest part is Stafford threw 3 picks, and yet they still won. Vikings kept on fighting back, but in the end, they barely lost 30-23 to the Rams. Buffalo at New England. The Bills jumped out on the Patriots like in a snap of a finger. They literally were all over the Patriots. The Patriots got within a few points, but the Bills got a touchdown to seal it and are right now first place in the AFC East. They did not clinch the division. I think they have to win out, and New England has to. I don't know exact situation, but they haven't clinched the division. No playoff spot clinched either. But right now, they're your first place in the AFC East. I should also say, with the Cardinals losing and the Rams winning, the Rams are first place in the NFC West. But both teams clinched a playoff spot because Rams won and the Vikings lost, gave the Cardinals a clinching playoff spot. So either way, both teams will be in the playoffs, but one will be as a division winner and hosting wildcard game. The other will be on the road. It would be funny if they match up against each other, but we'll see. Next up, Tampa, Carolina. This was all Tampa. Don't need to say much more. Cam Newton sucks. Cam Newton's probably going to retire after the year. Buccaneers won 32-6. Jets hosting the Jaguars. This was actually a back and forth game. And the Jets actually being able to shut down the Jaguars with a late pick to seal the win 26-21. And Zach Wilson actually had a pretty good game overall. Trevor Lawrence, But at the end of the day, the Jets won 26-21. Next up, Falcons hosting the Lions. This game was back and forth, came down to the wire. Thanks to a late pick right by the red zone, the Falcons don't choke for the second consecutive year to the Lions. barely pulling off a win in this one, 20-16. Next up, Texans at the Chargers. This was all Houston. And it's surprising to say because the Chargers are a good team, but this was all the Texans. Rampaging all over the Chargers. 41-29. This was all Texans. Not much more to say on that. Next up, Bengals at Ravens. The Ravens ended up having to play their third string quarterback. Huntley was out with COVID. Lamar was out with an injury. And they had to start Josh Johnson, who, for context, his last football start professionally was in the XFL in 2020 with the worst team in the XFL. Yeah, he didn't do so good. 41-21, Bengals whooped and sweep the Ravens, and that boosts their chances of winning the division, though they don't have an easy game this week. But Joe Burrow threw for 525 yards in this game and had a plethora of touchdowns. I don't know how many off the top of my head, but the Bengals just dominated, and they basically have swept Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and this is the first time I think they said since like 2009 or something. It's been a while. But they won't get the triple sweep because the Browns won the first game, and we won't know what happens in the second game until week 18, and we still got another week. Next up, Bears at Seahawks. This was a back and forth game. Wilson was off his game. Both teams were really not greatest. But in the end, the Bears barely pull off a win on a 2-point conversion and beat the Seahawks 25-24. Next up, Kansas City hosting the Steelers. This was all Kansas City. Steelers were just turning over the football. It was all Kansas City dominating. They got Tyreek Hill for the game, but Travis Kelce still ended up being out. Didn't make much of a difference. Chiefs whoop and clinch the AFC West 36-10. Denver at Las Vegas. This was a bit back and forth, but in the end, Vegas pretty much had it and won this game 17-13. With that win, through odd reasonings of strength of schedule or something, this actually gave the Cowboys the division. So they are officially the NFC East champions. It didn't make much of a matter because Sunday Night Football, the next game we have to cover, Dallas football team, this was all Dallas. Completely Dallas. They just absolutely dominated the football team, not giving the football team any shot of a comeback, winning 56-14, and they lock up the NFC East. One seed they still have a shot at. I'm not sure they will get it, though, because the Packers have an easy schedule and the Cowboys not so much, but we'll see what happens. And then Monday Night Football, it was all Dolphins over the Saints 20-3. The Saints just bad game. So that's week 16. Update on the standings. The Kansas City Chiefs are up top of the AFC at 11-4 as the AFC West champions, followed by the 10-5 Titans as a 2 seed, followed by a multiple 3-6, 3-4 being tied. I'm just realizing something. 3-4 being tied at 9-6 between the Bengals and the Bills, followed by the 5-6 both being tied between the Colts and the Patriots, followed by the 7th seed being, multiple way tie for the 7th seed between the Dolphins, Chargers, Rams, Chargers, Raiders, I think is what I meant. Yeah, Raiders and Ravens for the 7th seed, all at 8-7, followed by the 7-1 Steelers at the 11th spot, and tied for 12th between the Browns and the Broncos, both at 7-8, with the Jaguars, Texans, and Jets being eliminated. And then for the NFC, the Packers still their conference champion right now, the 1 seed at 12-3, followed by a 3-way tie for the second spot at 11-4 between the Cowboys, who have clinched the NFC East, or least, because the division really hasn't mattered much the last couple of years, followed by the Rams, who just have a playoff spot clinched, followed by the Buccaneers, who I forgot to say earlier, have clinched the NFC South. That is followed by the 5 spot being the 10-5 Cardinals, followed by a tie for the 6th spot between the Niners and the Eagles, both at 8-7, followed by a 3-way tie for the 8th spot between the Vikings, Falcons, and Saints at 7-8, followed by the football team who's 11 at 6-9, with the Lions, I almost said Tigers, Giants, Mariners, not Mariners, Seahawks, Bears, and Panthers all being eliminated. Last week in predictions, I went 10-6, with my predictions now being on the podcast record being 101, 61, and 1. So let's get into week 17 predictions. We are officially done with Thursday Night Football for the rest of the season. This week's going to be the last Monday Night Football. There will be Sunday Night Football in week 18, but not going to be really sure till next week what that Sunday Night Football game is. Falcons at Bills, I have the Bills. Not much of a thought to that. Giants at Bears, I have Bears. Chiefs and Bengals, this could be a close game and a good game, but I do have the Chiefs. Titans hosting the Dolphins, I have Titans. Colts hosting the Raiders, I have the Colts. Jaguars at the Patriots, I have the Patriots. The Panthers at the Saints, I have the Saints. The Buccaneers at the Jets, I have the Buccaneers. Eagles at football team, I have football team. Chargers hosting the Broncos, I have the Chargers. I think if they don't bounce back this week, they're done. I'll put it that way. They got to win this week. Texans at Niners, I have Niners. Cardinals at Cowboys, this should be a good game. I have the Cowboys. The Lions at Seahawks, I have Seahawks. Rams at Ravens, I have Rams. This also helps with the Browns. Sunday Night Football's Vikings at Packers, I have Packers. And Monday Night Football, Browns at Steelers. So let me explain how the Browns still have a chance at the division. So the Browns still have a chance at the division even with their record. They basically need to win out, which includes beating the Bengals. They need the Ravens to lose either this week or next week. And they need the Bengals to lose out, which includes losing the Browns, and the Browns can win the AFC North. Now, if the Ravens lose this week, it'd be easier. But I think either way, as long as they lose one, the Browns would have the division. And that is the Week 17 predictions. Now, before we end off, I can't believe I'm even talking about this, but I have to bring this up. In the media this week, this is honestly, I have to play the audio. I can't even try to replay this question. I'm going to pull up the audio for this. But anyways, let me give a bit of context. So this is Bill Belichick press conference after the loss of the Bills. And like when you're at a Bill Belichick press conference, you do not want to be asking people stupid questions. You want to be asking him good questions, legit questions, no matter whether you're male, female, rookie, sophomore, I don't care. You got to be asking good questions, and especially Bill Belichick has to be related to the game that just happened questions and not some random topic. That's the context I'm giving before I play you the audio to this clip. I don't know if I could show the visual. There's not much visual anyways, but that's just a background to this clip.
Hi, football aside, sorry, but I'm doing a story about New Year's resolutions, and I was just wondering if you had any you wanted to share with your fans and our readers?
Yeah, no, not right now.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe next week.
Yes, you heard that right. Someone at the Bill Belichick press conference asked him about a New Year's resolution to share with fans. To Bill Belichick! After a loss! What are you doing? Now, I don't care that it's that there's female people in the media. Like, I'm fine with that, especially since like the Browns' big reporter is female and Mary Kay Cahoot, or I don't know her last name, but Mary Kay. It's more of if you're in the media in sports, you gotta know what's right to ask and what's stupid dumpster fire to ask and should not be asked, and you should think about before you ask it. Because that is not something you ask an NFL coach, especially Bill Belichick. Now, he's not someone that necessarily would go crazy pissed off at you like Nick Saban, but he'll just give you that like bad look like, what the heck are you asking? You do not ask that, especially Bill Belichick. Now, maybe certain other coaches you could get away with it, like Dan Campbell, but that's just a stupid question. Like, what the heck? I don't know. Maybe people, if you want to try to give justice for this person in the comments or live chat, go ahead. But I don't know if there's really justice you could give I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous that that was even asked. It's NFL, not random topic in like what the heck? Like if it was about like Bill Belichick's own life, okay, that might be a bit different. Or another coach's own life, that's a bit different. But NFL about the game, absolutely not. I don't know. I just had to bring this up because it's absolutely stupid that this was even a question in the media. But anyways, that's it for this week's episode of the podcast. So let's wrap it up. Thank you for watching this week's episode of the podcast. Next week, we'll have NFL Week 17 to recap and NFL Week 18 predictions, with Week 18 being the last regular season week. Who will have clinched the playoff spot or division? Who will be out? Who will still have a chance? And who will be officially eliminated? We'll have the college football playoff semifinal games to cover and the New Year's Six bowl games to cover. And more potentially, because who knows what else could happen between now and then, especially with the whole Bill Belichick thing this week. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a notification bell on so you're notified when I go live. And let's get to between 75 and 100 subscribers by New Year so I can get those rewards out to you guys for getting to that goal. Thanks for watching. Happy New Year's, because I won't be streaming before New Year's. And I'll see you next week in 2022. Bye.